Hello and welcome to Difficulty Settings. On this interview session, we're going to be talking about support systems. They are integral to my life and very important to me. But I wanted to do a quick disclaimer and basically say that everything that I talk about today is my own personal opinion. Everyone's support systems look different and help them in different kind of ways. So this isn't like a how-to or like you have to do this in order to have support systems. I think the fun of it is finding out what works for you and what helps you along on your journey. So yeah, no one's doing anything wrong and there's no right way to figure out what's working for you in your life. But without that, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the episode. My name is Sarah von Gertzen. I'm a 27-year-old disabled person. I live in Edmonton, Alberta, and I'm a filmmaker. I have debilitating migraines, and I've had that since 2011. And more recently, I have some back and joint pains that I'm still trying to explore the medical reason why those are happening. Today, I'm feeling pretty good, surprisingly. I have a little bit of back pain starting, so probably by the end of this, I'll probably be sore. I haven't had a headache today, and I have very minimal pain, so today would be like a good day. I'm a little bit nervous about the last interview, and I feel like this is becoming a theme of thinking about the last interview and still being nervous about the whole thing. But I mean, it was really nice to get to share that part of me with everybody. I don't normally get to show off my art that's not like films. So yeah, it was really nice. I kind of had the thought that if I showed off some of it, that somebody would maybe take some kind of like, it would make them feel like happy, or they would take some joy and they would enjoy looking at it. And I realized that I love a lot of my paintings and I love a lot of my dolls so much. And it's an amazing feeling to get to realize that you created something that you get to share, and hopefully some other people found it pretty interesting, or that they liked them too, and I like thinking about that feeling. Today we're going to be talking about my support systems that help me with my disability. So kind of the ways that people or services support me with having a disability, and all of this is like my personal opinion and kind of what works for me right now. Support systems are, whether it's a service or an individual or something that helps you manage and cope better with disability. I think that you don't have to be disabled to access and have support systems. They can be very valuable in many different aspects of people's lives. Whether that's physical, mental, or emotional. So something that can simple, like bring you joy, or something that helps you through a problem or helps you physically, those are all like support systems to me. So for me personally, I like to look at my support systems kind of like in levels. So your first kind of like line of defense, if you will say, is kind of like your medical team. So like my medical team is like my family doctor and my neurologist and sometimes a rheumatologist. So those would be the first ones that I kind of I go for answers and medications and medical advice there. So those things like obviously very much support me on my journey as a disabled individual. And then in the next level, it's kind of like the services that I access to help me manage my disability. So that's like my psychologist, my physiotherapist, my massage therapist. I recently started seeing a dietitian. And in the last level for me is kind of like the social and emotional aspects of like, so that would be like my family and my friends, and that kind of stuff. And now these levels aren't like one is better than the other. They're kind of like free flowing, and like depending on my needs, some of them are prioritized a little differently, but I think it just helps me manage how I'm feeling and what I need to help me feel better, because it can be really overwhelming to like juggle all of these things in your life. So I definitely know that I need to prioritize certain ones. If I'm feeling more pain, or if I'm feeling more depression, or if I'm feeling so anxious all the time, I need to prioritize like different types of ones. The goal of a support system is for me to be able to utilize whether that a person or a service. So all of those things that I mentioned in like my psychology and my physiotherapy and my massage therapy, all of those things I kind of get, I don't want to say homework because it's not homework, but I get skills from those things, and utilizing those skills that I learn from those places can help me manage better and cope better. And I think they're very valuable. They're like very valuable lessons to access. And I think that that's kind of what a support system is. Even friends and family, it develops such a huge thing of like recharging your social battery, and it adds so much valuable information to your life because you're having fun, which is a huge thing for me. Is I think everyone needs to laugh and everyone needs to relax. Those are like the main things that I really love, and have learned to value since having a disability. So when you hang out with your friends, you're not only recharging your social battery, you're also like getting some good relaxing time in. And yes, it's very stressful. It can be very stressful, or it can be very tiring. And you may only need to see your friends like once a month, but that time is very valuable, in my opinion. And it adds so much to your life, I believe. All of my support systems are based in Edmonton, and I access them probably, I would say almost every month. There's so many different types of people, and I find that very interesting. A lot of times, it can take lots of different ways and meeting a lot of different people, which is very stressful. But to find the right person that clicks with you is really, really important. I think the most consistent one for me is probably my psychologist. So I do cognitive behavioral therapy, and it really helps with managing my OCD and my anxiety and depression, which are huge pieces that go along so closely with my disability, and they kind of like feed off one another a couple times. So it can be a little bit hard, and if one's not in check, it's almost like my psychologist talks to me about like how they're both like wheels on an axis. So if one of them's like not doing well, the other one's not going to be like as great. So I think I access that one the most. And then especially I've been utilizing a lot of like a physio and massage therapy when I have a lot of pain. Like those things are really important for me. One of the most recent examples is I had met with different dietitians, but I didn't click well with them all. And then I found one recently that I really, really connected with. And I find like it's just so valuable to find that person, because you're going to gain so much more out of what you're accessing, like, and you're going to build like a strong support system, instead of one that you feel like you have to go to. And that's so hard for me as coming from somebody with social anxiety, is if I go to like one person and I don't like it, or I don't like the experience, and I just don't connect well with the person, it can feel like a real challenge to like not go back to that person. So it's taken me a long time in my life to kind of be okay with doing that, and realizing in the long run how valuable it is to meet and connect with the right person. Um, I see probably all of my mid-level support, so like my psychologist, my massage therapist, my physiotherapist, and my dietitian, probably at the bare minimum once a month. And sometimes if I need more access to something, so like my massage therapist, for example, it can be more than that, but it's at the bare minimum once a month, which seems like a lot, and it is. It can make you feel very overwhelmed and busy, and I feel like that's one thing that a lot of people kind of like don't realize is I'm usually busy when my friends want to hang out with me or I need to do something else, but like when I'm busy, it's busy doing like these medical type appointments. So it can be a lot of work to put in that work to better yourself, but it does kind of like get easier, and it the long run, it helps you get stronger like with your disability. I think my friends play an important piece in my support systems in the way of um, they help with the social aspect and the emotional aspect. That are those two things that I really need. I love to laugh. I love to have fun. I love games. I love hanging out with the people that are closest to me. Um, so they definitely help like fill my social cup. But I feel like more specifically, I've always kind of wanted to be a social person despite my social anxiety and having anxiety with dealing with people. I do like it, and I do like being in a group setting, um, and hearing people talk, and I love laughing, so I love people that make me laugh. Um, and I feel like that's the huge thing that my friends do for me. Is I love hanging out with them. I love having games nights. I love having movie nights. I just find it so fun, and it's very freeing. And they're very supportive and very loving, and are trying to help me any way they can. My family supports me physically and emotionally and socially as well, as my friends do. Um, I think my family is relied on a little bit more than my friends, um, because I have so much anxiety sometimes when going to medical appointments or going out to places that I don't know. Um, so I definitely have, especially the first time, I have to have kind of like one person in my family come with me, because that's like my safety net person. So my anxiety sometimes can tell me in my good brain, my healthy brain, that I can be in so much danger that I just can't control my emotions. That's what it feels like. And having somebody with me that knows me makes me feel more comfortable, because if I'm having trouble explaining something, they can step in and help me explain, or kind of redirect me and get me back on track. They were kind of like the front line of what it feels like to have kind of like problems, or be struggling, or being in the middle of a flare up, or be having too much anxiety, or having unmanageable depression. Like they're the first ones that see it, and they're the first ones there to remind me of like what supports or what skills that I have to help me with that. I definitely know that they're the first ones to know when my appointment for my psychologist is coming up, because my anxiety is usually starting to get a little unmanageable for me and a little overwhelming. So yeah, like I feel like they kind of like add, along with my friends, they kind of add that social aspect, but they are helping me in more physical ways than they are. The process of setting up a support system is can be a very tough one, especially where it can be very overwhelming and it can be very anxiety producing, I think, to find what works well and what doesn't. And that's kind of like a practice that at least I need to practice myself is learning when, if it's not working, feeling like it's not my fault. I think a lot of it comes from trial and error. Because there's so many different options, it can feel very overwhelming, but I think like picking one and then trying it and then being like, no, this one isn't really for me, or I can't really see any value, getting any value out of this, and then moving on and trying like the next one. It can be very important to try to find like that person that connects with you and try to find like the service that connects with you. Not everybody needs physiotherapy and a massage therapist like I do. Both of those two people add so many different things to my life. But those are just because those two people are two different individuals that I connect with on different levels. I think I wish that I did have a little bit more time and energy to use with my friends. I know that some people I can connect with very easily online, and some friends I can't. So sometimes it can be very hard to set up meetings and kind of like hangouts or game nights with them. And it can be so exhausting to just plan it that I get to it on that day and I'm just like exhausted. It's such like a huge buildup for me. So I definitely feel like I do wish I had a little bit more interaction with my friends. And I'm still trying to like find what works in that aspect. So that's something that I'm definitely trying to figure out for myself as well. I also feel that I kind of wish something that I've always wanted was kind of a support system in my career wise. So like, I'm a filmmaker, obviously, and it can be very hard and challenging to like navigate film as like a disabled person. So I sometimes really wish that I knew someone on a personal level that has like a disability or has like some mental health issues that they're also managing and navigating as well, because that can be very valuable to see what other people are doing and then kind of like adjusting and being like, oh, I didn't even think about that, and then integrating that into your career and your life. So yeah, I definitely think that that was something that I don't have at all that I wish I did have. And I do wish I saw my friends more because I love them and they're great, and I do miss having like kind of like that interaction that I was able to do before. When I had migraines, it was a little easier to manage because I can take a pain reliever, like a pill, before hanging out with them. And I would be okay for like that time. I would be like tired, and I sometimes would be like a little anxious, but all that stuff was manageable. But with different types of pain and being not physically able to like move as well as I did before, it can be really challenging to do that. And I'm the type of person that I like getting up and making sure everybody has food and drinks and that everyone's okay. So it can be really hard and challenging to have to be the one to sit and maybe ask your friends for a little bit of help. It can be really hard. So yeah, I definitely wish that there was more of that. One of the most important things for me with my disability and the process of learning about it and learning about support systems was kind of looking at what I needed to make my life better. So when I was, even back when I just had anxiety and OCD, it was something that was so, I thought it was so normal to feel so bad all the time and so scared all of the time. And it really wasn't. And it's such a hard skill to manage. I have such bad anxiety that sometimes it can be really, really hard to manage still, even to this day. But a lot of the skills that I have now, after going to something like therapy, has really made it easier for me to get it to a manageable level, and I still get kind of like spikes. Something as simple as taking a second to compose yourself can feel like such a huge ask when you're in a situation that's really new and really like overwhelming. And I feel like that is what my advice would be like to take your time and to think about things that you want to and you think that would make your life better, and then talking to the people about it. Like that would be my advice of trying to build a support system. I mean, like, it can be really overwhelming, and if you need, I feel like what I've been trying to do is slow down. I feel like I'm in a rush to live my life. I'm in a rush to do anything. And I think one of the main things for me is with these support systems that I access, whether that's psychology and like physio, and sometimes hanging out with friends, it can feel like I only have a set amount of time and I need to get like what I wanted to get done in that time. And that can be so stressful. And it can really be detrimental to kind of like what the point of a support system is. So I think that would be like kind of my advice to somebody who wants to access a support system and wants to gain more out of their support systems, would be kind of like slowing down and really feeling what you need and then trying to implement those things. And it's definitely not set in stone. What works for you this year you may not need those kind of supports next year, and it may fluctuate. And I think it's important to stay in that bendable area and be slow and just go through it. It can be overwhelming to feel that, but I think it's important. Thank you so much for being here on this episode of Difficulty Settings. I hope that you were able to learn a little bit more about me and a little bit more about yourself along the way. I hope that you can tune in next time, where we'll be talking a little bit more about how my disability affects my life. But until then, thank you very much.